So, Faraway Lucas, what are we talking about today?
We're going to be talking about Martin Lee.
Oh yeah, Mr. Negative. Cross promotion, yeah. So, Faraway Lucas, as you often do, would you like to let the lovely audience at home know what the topic of today's Wiki Weekends is about?
Yeah, as we just mentioned, Karl, we are talking about the one and only Mr. Negative.
And we will be referring specifically to the Mr. Negative Earth 616 entry on the Marvel Wiki, a link to which you will find below. And as mentioned, this is some cross-promotion, because myself and Lucas just started playing through Spider-Man PS4 on my gaming channel. And I know nothing about Mr. Negative, so I thought it'd be fun to find out what the fuck this dude's about. He's the main villain of that game, yes?
He's one of the main villains of the game, I'll say that.
And the only thing I know about him is that he's got a sick, awesome design.
He does.
Like, he looks super fucking cool. Other than that, that's about it. So let's, as we often do, start at the beginning and find out some more about Mr. Negative. We'll start with this hilarious photo of him, which I presume is art from a comic he appears in, where he's simply telling the person he's talking to, don't be so negative. Really? Like, that's how you want to introduce yourself? Mr. Negative, don't be so negative. I respect it, but goddamn is that lazy. Real name, unknown. Current alias, Mr. Negative. Aliases, Martin Lee, Negative Man, Mr. Negative, Negative, Mr. N, and Martin the Martyr. So, not really any strong band names in there, which is a shame.
No, not really.
Usually when we do a superhero from Marvel, when we go through their aliases, we often get a band name or two out of it. Not so much with Mr. Negative. So already, not off to the best of starts, but let's continue. Relatives. He has Yana Lee, who is his pretend wife.
Oh my god, his pretend wife.
He's got a pretend wife. That's good. Can you imagine telling her that? You're my pretend wife, you're not my real wife. And then we have affiliation as Mr. Negative. He's the leader of a criminal coalition consisting of the White Dragons of Chinatown. So here's where the band names come in, as well as the Inner Demons, the Dragon Lords, and the Snake Heads.
That's a lot better.
Yeah, okay, so you made up for it, Mr. Negative, with immediately, like 40 seconds later, the Coalition of White Dragons. Holy shit. And then his base of operations is Shanghai, China, Chinatown, New York City, and the United States of America. Identity, secret identity, citizenship, Chinese, and his occupation is crime lord, drug lord, philanthropist, and formerly a smuggler/criminal. I would argue that he's still a criminal if his current occupation is crime lord.
Yeah.
But I'm not one to argue with the Marvel Wiki. And we have here characteristics. He's a male. He's 5'11". He weighs 180 pounds or 81.65 kilos for you fans of the metric system. He has brown eyes, but they're white when he's Mr. Negative. He has black hair, which is white when he's Mr. Negative. And his skin is black as Mr. Negative. And his origins are... Lucas, are you ready for some more band names, mate?
Yes.
His origin is the Dark Force and the Light Force. I don't know what they are. They've got blue letters on them, so I could click it. But no, I'd rather the Dark Force and Light Force remain a mystery because it's going to be... The image in my head is too cool. And
yeah.
it'll never get lived up to by the wiki. So his origins is the Dark Force and the Light Force, which sounds like a collaboration between two bands. It's awesome. And the next section we have is history, which we usually skip because we often cover heroes and villains that people are somewhat familiar with. But I don't really know much about Mr. Negative, so I feel like, should we at least find out what his deal is?
Yeah, at least get a little, overview.
Okay, so we'll start with a quote from Mr. Negative himself, which is simply, I always like to have reminders around that there is no good he can do, that I cannot corrupt. Sure.
Okay.
I'm guessing you had to be there. Then we have origins. The man who would become Mr. Negative was a member of a Snakeheads gang in China, which was involved in human trafficking operations. He was pushed into a life of crime by the crime boss known as, I shit you not, Silver Fang. That is awesome. Not the human trafficking thing, but the name of that guy. He smuggled Chinese immigrants into the United States as a member of, stop it with these band names, the Golden Mountain.
Oh my god.
When the ship nearly crashed into the New York shores, he stole the identity of one of the deceased slaves, Martin Lee, who was heading to America to join his wife. Martin Lee, in big air quotes, so came to his snakehead gang in Flushing only to discover them dead, and was eventually captured by the Magyar crime family member, Silvermane, who forcibly delivered Martin Lee to the criminal chemist, Martin Marshall. And it says here that Marshall was developing a new synthetic designer drug called D-Light, which that's D and then L-I-T-E, But yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Criminals aren't that creative, folks. We know this. For the Maggia crime family, testing it on runaway teens and illegal immigrants, often with fatal results, in order to create a cash crop for the crime family. Miraculously, 3 kidnapped victims, Tyrone Johnson, Tandy Bowen, and Martin Lee, again in quotation marks, survived the experimentation and escaped. Thanks to the drug and their unique biology, all 3 developed superpowers related to, and I can't believe I'm being paid to say these words, the Dark Force and the Light Force, which turned Tyrone and Tandy into a duo known as, Lucas, you're not prepared for this, Cloak and Dagger.
No.
Oh, it's so good! Why do comics have such cool fucking naming conventions? And it says here that, and then Lee himself became Mr. Negative and used his powers to become a crime boss. And then, fuck it, I don't care about anything else.
Okay, cool.
What a good introduction, though. That's so strong.
Yeah, that is.
So, canonically, no one knows who the fuck this guy is. He just stole some random dude's identity and then got a new identity on top of that, but still maintains his secret other identity. That's crazy. Already, though, strong. Strong introduction for Mr. fucking A. So, Lucas, so far, thoughts?
I mean, I can't get over all the band names that came out of this.
This happens every time, man. Joe, we should rename Wiki Weekends too. Here are some new band names. If you're a struggling musician, you want a band name, just watch these videos and you'll get at least 2 or 3.
Yeah.
But it's an old joke, but seriously, some of the words in it are so fucking cool. Like Golden Mountain, I'll buy their album. And then we'll move, as we often do, to the powers and abilities section, which is usually where the fun stuff lies. And we'll start with the power grid for Mr. Negative. And for anyone who's not watched one of these videos before, the Marvel power grid is on a scale of 1 to 7, with 1 being below average and 7 being nigh godlike, and everything in between. And I believe 2 is an average human. So we have here intelligence, which is a 3, which means Mr. Negative is slightly above average in terms of intelligence. Strength is a 5. So quite strong, but not on the level of someone like the Hulk. Speed is a 3, so slightly above average. Durability is a 4, so somewhat durable, but not as durable as other heroes. Energy projection is a 4, and fighting skills are a 4.
Okay.
So he's a fairly powerful threat, and you can see him being a thorn in the side of someone like Spider-Man.
For sure.
Oh man, but I love him in that game though. Because the whole shtick of that Mr. Negative was picked to be one of the villains of Spider-Man PS4, just so they could do all the weird, cool shit with the visuals of how his powers work.
Oh, probably, yeah.
100% they wanted to flex with what they could do with his powers.
Because it looks so cool.
Everything, yeah, and then he has his demons, is it?
Yeah, the demons.
Foot soldiers who wear the weird masks and have the same power on their weapons. And they think they're so good right up until you kick them off the edge of a building. Every criminal in that game thinks he's so good until Spider-Man swings in and impact webs him off a building at Mach 3.
All I'm going to say is, if you're a criminal in New York, don't ever go on top of a building.
Especially when not only is Spider-Man around, but you've got people like the Punisher and Daredevil running about. I don't understand why you would be a criminal in Marvel's version of New York.
No.
And at the very least, if you're going to be a criminal, don't operate in an area where Frank Castle is.
Oh God, no.
Because he'll just shoot you. Yeah. He's just going to shoot you. And it reminds me of a way I heard it summed up. If I'm a criminal and Frank Castle is coming for me, I would make an effort to stand in the most featureless blank room possible, because I'd be so scared of what he'd do with the objects around me.
Oh God.
Because have you ever played the Punisher game for the PlayStation 2 and original Fat Xbox?
I've not, no.
Okay, well, one of the systems in that is interrogations. And you can do 4 generic ones, like you can punch people, put a gun to their head, choke them out, smash the face into the floor. But then you have unique environmental ones, some of which are fucking terrifying. The one that's I would think would scare me the most, someone did it to me, is where you get someone down on a kitchen side, and there's one of those floating knife racks above them.
Oh God.
And you think, what's the interrogation technique here? And all Frank Castle does is just shake it a little bit.
No.
Knives wobble backwards. And you think, I would spill my guts immediately if I just saw knives being wobbled above my head.
Oh God, that's terrifying.
You can also do stuff like just throw people into the water where they get eaten by sharks and stuff. It's great. Anyway, so Mr. Negative powers. As a result of his exposure to the drug D-Light, Mr. Negative can generate and control the dark force and the light force, manifesting it as the photographic negative of black or white electrical energy. He uses this unique form of dark force for a variety of purposes, including, but not limited to, limited shapeshifting. He uses this energy to change from Martin Lee into Mr. Negative. His Mr. Negative persona possesses an undefined level of superhuman physical characteristics, likely due to light and dark force energy. Mr. Negative displays superhuman strength, sending Spider-Man flying through 2 buildings with a single blow.
Fucking hell.
He's also demonstrated a degree of limited superhuman reflexes and speed during his battle with the Hood, dodging bullets or cutting them in half with a sword. So he's like, not only can he punch Spider-Man clean through 2 buildings, he can just Virgil bullets. Okay, and then we have object empowerment. Mr. Negative's touch can imbue objects, most often his dagger and other blades, with dark force, making what sounds like a Skyrim weapon, the dark force dagger, making them stronger and more durable. An empowered object takes on the appearance of a photographic negative and glows with that weird black and white sex energy in the games. So that means, though, like when he's sending his guys out to commit crimes and rob stuff, he has to sit there and just touch all their swords.
He does.
I want to see that bit. I want to see the cut scene from the Spider-Man PS4 game of Mr. Negative just running his hand along the tips of all his soldiers' swords.
Well, there is the bit where he just walks out into the street and gets a bunch of homeless people and just grabs their head and turns them all crazy.
Yeah, that's so harsh.
It's fucking hell.
It's brutal as fuck. And we have here person empowerment and healing touch. So that segues quite nicely, actually, Lucas. Mr. Negative's touch can imbue people with energy for various effects. Martin Lee's touch has healing properties. He cured Eddie Brock's cancer.
He can cure cancer?
He can cure cancer with his hands. What? His touch also charged the remnants of the Venom symbiote in Brock's body with the power to bond to Brock's leukocytes and create another symbiote, a hero named... Lucas, if you were going to create an alternate version of Venom and you were a hack writer, what would you call it? It's the exact opposite of Venom. What are you going to call it?
Is it anti-Venom? Is that where that comes from?
Yeah. So... Mr. Negative can cure cancer, and he decided the best way to use his powers was to commit crime.
Yeah.
I'm just going to put it out there. I think someone with the ability to cure cancer can make more money than a criminal.
Yeah, probably.
And if your goal is to amass power, influence, and wealth, I reckon curing cancer would help you do that.
Yeah.
But no, Mr. Negative just wants to commit crime. It's like that famous Spider-Man comic panel, isn't it, where Spider-Man's yelling at that guy who's a big pterodactyl. With your intellect and this technology, you could cure cancer. To which the man responds, but I don't want to cure cancer. I want to turn people into dinosaurs. Mr. Negative is just that.
Yeah, he is.
It's like, Mr. Negative, you could cure cancer, but I don't want to cure cancer. I
want to make people angry. For fuck's sake.
That's great. This is it. So... Since Martin Lee's healing touch, we're actually calling it that, was the source of creating the anti-venom suit, Mr. Negative's touch can reverse that ability, and it disables anti-venom's healing powers until anti-venom is free from Mr. Negative's energy. Aside from Brock, homeless people who stayed at Martin Lee's shelter have rapidly recovered from any injuries or illnesses they suffered from. It is possible that the healing touch of Martin Lee is the opposite of Mr. Negative's corrupting touch. So Joe, in the game... he runs the shelter for homeless people. He does that in the comics as well, and mysteriously people just get better when they stay there. Because apparently just being in the area of influence where Martin Lee is just cures people of various diseases, including cancer.
Holy
shit.
He
decided to use his powers to be a criminal and not just cure cancer for money.
What a knobhead.
What a dick. I love it. You've got to love someone who's like, fuck it, I'm just going to be evil.
He's committed.
He's committed to being a bell end. I respect it. The next section is person empowerment, corrupting touch. So Mr. Negative's touch has brainwashing and corrupting properties. His touch can change people's personalities and temperaments and make them serve his interests. A corrupted person's clothes change in appearance to photographic negatives, and all who are corrupted praise their new master with proclamations like, Mr. Negative was never born, so he is ever living, or he is attached to nothing, thus he is one with all. So they just spout lines from a fortune cookie, I guess. Negative's touch inverts the morals and personalities of his victims. Further, his corruption is more effective the more good the affected person was prior to conversion. White Dragon, again, another band name, a villain himself, gained vastly increased stamina and endurance, but was easily dispatched. Interestingly, his clothes reverted to normal once he was killed. Conversely, Spider-Man, a hero in every respect, was corrupted into a spiteful and angry villain, despising every value he ever held dear, even Uncle Ben's memory.
Oh no!
So Mr. Negative's touch made Spider-Man forget Uncle Ben. It made him forget that with great power comes great responsibility. He's the greatest villain ever. Because no one ever makes Spider-Man forget that.
Oh, Spidey, why?
Oh God, it says as well that when Spider-Man was corrupted, he was no longer above killing. However, individuals can reverse the corruption when confronted with intense emotional turmoil. Spider-Man is able to break his hold on his own dark side when he's on the verge of killing Betty Brant as he remembers the love he once had for her upon getting close. Aunt May, after seeing Peter clearly suffering mentally, feels guilty and undergoes, I quote, an intense mind battle, breaking the corruption.
What's that? Aunt May has like psychic powers with Spider-Man.
I fucking love comic books. I love comic books so much. Aunt May undergoes an intense mind battle with the corrupted Peter Parker. Oh, Mr. Negative's corrupting touch was ineffective against the Hood. Mr. Negative stated that this is because the Hood's soul belongs to a being even greater than he is. I'm going to click that being now, see what it is. And if I remember correctly, that being is Dormammu. And yeah, I'm going to guess that, like, you know, a random dude who took drugs can't be, like, you know, god of the underworld, so whatever.
Yeah, probably not.
And it continues in that vein for a while, but I don't think we're ever going to top Aunt May mind battling Spider-Man.
No, we're not.
So we can just end on a little bit of trivia about Mr. Negative. So it's possible that Lee's Mr. Negative persona is due to some sort of dissociative identity disorder, and this theory is widely held among readers. He invited Eddie Brock into a room he considered his sanctuary, resembling an office done in Feng Shui, where he has a go board on a table where every day he moves a white piece. He claims that some days he enters to find a black piece has been moved. It does not bother him as he has learned to enjoy the game. That's really cool. That's a really cool way of showing, like, the duality of his personality.
That is, yeah.
Where he moves a white piece, and then every now and again, a piece moves in response, and he doesn't know what it is, and it's presumably Mr. Negative, and he's playing against himself. That's really neat.
That is.
That's a super fucking interesting concept, and I'm annoyed that I didn't know that, because that's fucking awesome. That's really cool. I'm really... Oh, man. I'm sorry, but I'm just thinking that's a really interesting concept, and I'm surprised a film hasn't ripped it off.
I'm surprised that wasn't in the game.
It's not, is it? But maybe it is. You have to go watch mine and Lucas' playthrough of it if you want to find out. Man, we're really bad at this self-promotion thing.
We really are.
We discussed this before we made the video. Oh, yeah, we'll talk about our playthrough and, like, get people to go watch it. And we just got really hyped about talking about Mr. Negative curing cancer with his magic fingers. Oh, that's crazy.
Oh, dear.
Yeah, but anyway, go watch me and Lucas play this game. But we'll end on one last little bit of trivia, and that is that very few people are aware of the dual identity of Mr. Negative, and his good self himself isn't even aware of it. So Mr. Negative isn't even aware that he's Mr. Negative. And the list of people here, it says know more or less about it. And the first one is Eddie Brock, because he saw the transformation.
Okay.
And the next one is his pretend wife, but it says here that she didn't recognise him as her husband, which means she didn't know. And I'm not sure why she's listed on people who do. And then it says Betty Brant because she interviewed his fake wife. But it says before that his fake wife didn't know. So I'm guessing Eddie Brock's the only one who knows. And us and the viewers, because you watched this video.